Greetings gamers, welcome to Locke's Picks, where I help you decide if a game is worth your time or a waste of time. This episode is all about Darkest Dungeon, a depressingly atmospheric roguelike game that just came out of early access. It's a party-based side-scrolling RPG that makes you guide groups of adventurers through untold horrors of terrifying dungeons. Darkest Dungeon has some new ideas and neat mechanics that really make the game unique. So the gameplay is split into two different sections. The first section is party-based dungeon crawling. You guide a team of adventurers through a bunch of 2D rooms based on a randomly generated map within 5 different zones. You fight monsters in turn-based combat, collect loot, and find surprises. Sounds simple, right? Wrong! The fights are hard, the loot is sparse, and most surprises are awful for you. Darkest Dungeon is punishing, strategical, and difficult. Your party of adventurers stand in a line on a 2D area, and positioning matters. Different abilities can be used from different positions in the party, and can hit different positions in the enemy group. So different character classes have optimal party positions, and many have multiple positions based on the skills they choose. There are many different character classes to experiment with for party combinations, giving the game a lot of strategic depth. Through each dungeon run, you're trying to complete an objective, which is usually completing a certain number of battles or exploring a certain number of rooms. There are multiple systems that make the game interesting and unique. You have a light meter that starts off full when you enter the dungeon. As you travel, your torches get less bright and the dungeon gets more risky, but also more rewarding. In order to combat this, you bring torches with you and use them to upkeep your light meter throughout the dungeon. The most unique mechanic is the stress mechanic. Each adventurer has a stress meter under their health meter, which affects their behavior and mental health. Enemies can have attacks that do stress damage instead of health damage, and the natural horrors of the dungeons add stress as well. If your characters get over 100 stress, they have a mental break and receive a bad trait that affects their behavior until you treat their stress. They might become fearful and pass their turns. They might become abusive and add stress to the party every turn by berating them. There is also a small chance they will overcome the stress and receive a buff for the rest of the dungeon. If a character gets stressed enough, they can have a heart attack and die. Mental health is a rarely explored topic in gaming, which makes this a really unique gaming experience. So you travel through the dungeon, killing enemies, collecting loot, and at the end of every dungeon your characters can level up and receive new quirks. Quirks are permanent personality traits that affect their stats or behavior, for better or worse. So what do you do all this for? The second section of gameplay is set in your home base estate, where you can prepare your adventurers for the horrors ahead of them. You can hire more adventurers, upgrade them, treat their stress, get rid of their bad traits, cure their diseases, and buy more trinkets for them. You equip your adventurers, create a party, and go get more loot from the dungeons. The different types of loot you receive from the dungeons allow you to upgrade the different buildings of your base and help out your adventurers more and more as the dungeons get harder. The goal of the game is to explore all the dungeons and beat all their bosses, eventually conquering the Darkest Dungeon. All of these things sound great, but in practice there are some problems. The game strives to be difficult, punishing, and challenging. Your adventurers are essentially disposable, especially the ones that end up with bad quirks, so you use them up until they've cracked, and then throw them away for new adventurers because it's too expensive to fix your old ones. By doing that, the game ends up progressing really slowly and feels like a grind because your new adventurers come in at level 0. The game has a lot of strategical depth, but once you find optimal party builds, you don't want to experiment anymore because of the punishing game mechanics. The RNG of hit chance and critical hits is punishing as well. You can spend turns missing your opponents, and they can end up one-shotting your characters, making the rest of the dungeon exceedingly difficult. Restrictions such as inventory size, character level dungeon limits, and Darkest Dungeon lockouts increase the grind and artificially increase the amount of time you have to spend to win the game. If you like the gameplay enough though, you probably won't mind a lot of these issues. Darkest Dungeon has a very unique presentation of a grim, foreboding, and dark atmosphere. The visual art is great. It's simple at its core, but presents necessary detail in a style of its own. Everything is 2D and feels like a graphic novel, but it uses background space well and it doesn't feel cheap or old. The animations are quick and ruthless, effectively driving home the feel of the game. There's a sort of narrator, reminiscent of Bastion, who comments on happenings as you trudge through dungeons and collect yourself in town. The voice acting for the narration is well done and aids with the dark tone that the game aims for. The sound effects are gamey and sharp, making you dread every enemy attack. The music of battle is a driving orchestra that makes it an intense experience. Outside of dungeons, the music is slow and plodding, but still unsettling. The atmosphere of this game is a well-realized, unique concept that deserves a lot of praise. The narrative of Darkest Dungeon exists to provide context for the rest of the game. It's the engine for the vehicle that is the gameplay. It's a dark, Lovecraftian story about otherworldly evils and the greed of mankind. The concept is that you're a relative of a man that unearthed great chaotic evils beneath his estate in search of fame and fortune. He totally unexpectedly dies, and you inherit his estate. So your character hires adventurers to delve into the depths beneath the estate to stop the horrors and fix the estate in exchange for glory and gold. That becomes the starting point for the game, and until the end, most of the rest of the story is a collection of vignettes from defeating bosses that speak of the terrible horrors below. This game has a distinct flavor to it, which the story provides in kind. As far as technical functionality goes, nothing really jumps out to me, good or bad. There aren't many options to adjust, although the game doesn't really need graphics options but the easy-to-please style it presents. What I do wish it came with was an option to speed up battles, even just a little bit. After a few dungeons and getting over the learning curve, I just wanted to blow through the battles more quickly because I already got the gist of it. Characters pop up speech bubbles when reacting to things and proclaiming their stress, which is fine, but it doesn't have to slow down the action in an already plodding turn-based battle. Otherwise, the game runs great aside from a few crashes I experienced when loading into dungeons. Luckily, when I loaded it, it started me right off in the dungeon, so I lost no progress. A great thing is that you can sort your list of adventurers using different criteria so that you can sort through your stressed out characters. The UI makes sense, but could also be a bit more user-friendly. It can be hard to tell what things are just from looking at their icons. During dungeons, I wish you could see your inventory and the map at the same time. Efficient use of space is not something this game seems to do well. Overall though, Darkest Dungeon is a very unique game that brings a lot of interesting ideas to the table. Few games address the stress adventurers must feel from encountering literal horrors and monsters constantly. This game is punishing, difficult, and darkly atmospheric. On the flip side, it's restrictive, repetitive, and ends up being a long grind if you want to see the ending. I'd recommend it to strategy fans, hardcore gamers, roguelike lovers, and anyone who enjoys a Lovecraftian universe. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate all the subscribers I've gotten so far. Please spread the word. Your views mean so much to me. If you can have any suggestions or anything to say, don't hesitate to comment. I also stream on Twitch. You can find all my links in the video description. See you next time on Lock's Picks.